Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honors to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honor to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the elect of the nation of Israel. This is your brother Ayash Gabar from the GMS Virginia camp, coming at you with another lesson that I pray that you find edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. And yeah, this devil's on the move. As I like to say, make it happen, Captain. Well, if you hadn't heard, Babylon and Israel, made a strike on Iran. And the scripture spoke about these things. Salakia. Our apostles and elders been prophesying these things, as well as the other Akim, who are out there on the highways and byways, GMS, proclaiming these things, proclaim ye amongst the Gentiles, and that's one of the things that we were also commanded to do is, to let these Gentiles know, or these heathen know, that, there's a judgment waiting for them, and, of all the heathen that's going to get it the worst, it's going to be Esau Edom, because this devil, he, what I'm saying, he's just wicked as fuck. He's just all out wicked, The book of Sirach, chapter 27 and verse 26. Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein. And he's digging a pit for himself and doesn't even realize that he's doing so. Because, Salakia, brothers. Salakia, he's digging a pit for himself and doesn't even realize what he's doing. Because Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, got this devil in the trick bag, got this man actually thinking that, he's gonna fulfill his enterprise, that, his scheme is gonna come to fruition, because, he's a very proud man, and this is out of Reuters, and it says live, the U.S. and Israel strikes Iran as Trump says actions give Iranians a chance to topple their rulers. And that's a common theme that, this devil has done for a very long time. And now the people are starting to get a whiff of it. The people are starting to realize, hold on one second. Every time we go to war, it is to topple a so-called regime, a government, a system. Why can't we just sit our asses down and mind our own business? That's what the people are chanting for now. But looking back 20 years ago or so, a lot of people was like, yeah, America's the, hammer of the earth, let's continue to do so. Well, a lot's changed in 20 years. And one of the things that's changed in 20 years is that, one, the people, the military has become somewhat soft. And two, a lot of people are starting to realize the bullshit that they're going to war for. You know what I'm saying? Because here it is. Here it is, this thing that went down in Venezuela, and they're, seizing the resources and the common folk ain't even getting a piece of the pie. The common folk isn't a part of the spoils of that. Well, now the commoners are starting to question, well, why aren't we? Why aren't we getting a piece of that? Why are the Jays constantly having their hands in shit, you know? The people are actually starting to ask questions to the point where the conversations have become so deep that they're trying to control the narrative and they just can't, because Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai has put a spirit in the world, to show the world who this devil is, you know, that that man of wickedness has got to be revealed, and he is being revealed, and he's at the point now where he's got to do what he's got to do because he knows that he have but a short time, you know. Who, the book of Sirach 27 and 26 again, whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein, and he that setteth a trap shall be taken therein. This is a trap for this devil, because he actually thinks that he's going to come out on top of winning, this third woe, this third world's woe. But he's not. As a matter of fact, this is going to be the woe that brings him to his knees, to his utter destruction, because, he's losing favor with his allies. You know what I'm saying? And if you look at the title, it says the U.S. and Israel strike Iran, not the U.S., Israel, and their allies. It says the U.S. and Israel. So, hey, this is a beautiful thing, because Yahweh Bashim Yahushua spoke about these things. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, and verse 45. Therefore, hear ye the counsel of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua that he has taken against Babylon and his purposes, that he has purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. And by Babylon the Great joining with those small hats over there in the land, it's going to make this place desolate. Of course, the land of Israel is going to be destroyed as well. But these are the things that the scriptures spoke about. These are what we've been prophesying about, starting with our apostles, elders, bishops, and men on down. Been talking about these things for decades, and now that it's happening right before you people's eyes, a lot of you are still in disbelief. A lot of you people actually still think that, Babylon the Great is that superpower that it once used to be. You know what I'm saying? It's like, like it's like that boxer who was a champion in his young days, in his heyday. You know what I'm saying? Well, once that boxer gets to the point where everyone he fights becomes easy for him, that boxer may train less. In other words, I don't know if you brothers remember this, but there was this movie called The Great White Hype where, Damon Wayans had played this boxer who was kicking everybody's ass, you know what I'm saying? To the point where he felt as though he didn't have to train. You know what I'm saying? He's laying back on his couch, eating ice cream and shit, getting fat. You know what I'm saying? Until he gets in the ring, and goes up against this boxer that actually started hurting him. You know what I'm saying? Well, this place is no different. Babylon is no different. Babylon has gotten to the point where, it has actually filled itself so much that it actually thinks that, it's it actually thinks that its presence is enough to scare the nations. Well, those days are over, because now the weak are saying, I am strong. The weak is saying that I'm strong. As a matter of fact, let me get that. Because This is where we're at. Hold on a second. Hang on a second, Hakim. Because they're going up they're going up against a nation that they are not fully prepared to go up against. You know? So hold on one second. Let me see if this is it. Sometimes I hate these apps, you know what I'm saying? Slovakia. I might be doing it wrong, but it says let the weak. As a matter of fact, let me get it. Let's see. It's in the book of Joel. The book of Joel, chapter 3 and verse 10. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say that I'm strong. You know, and that's what you're starting to see. Or that's what you've been seeing. The weak are saying, I'm strong. Why? Because the weak have allied with each other to go against the hammer of the earth. The weak are joining themselves together to become a formidable foe. Hell, even the allies of Babylon the Great have even joined with the weak, because even the allies of Babylon the Great, compared to Babylon the Great, are weak. You know what I'm saying? So here it is. You got all these nations, allies, and those who were never allies with Babylon the Great joining together. You know, and you know who's going to be at the tip of the spear? Russia. Russia's going to be a guard unto them. Russia's going to sit back and say, nah, fuck that. You ain't going to do this to them. As a matter of fact, they have even gone out and said it, you know, to Babylon the Great. You know what I'm saying? If you do what you plan on doing with Iran, be prepared. Be prepared, because there's a consequence behind your actions, you know? Let the weak say, I'm strong. Assemble yourselves and come ye, all ye heathen. You know, because we also have to warn the heathen of their destruction as well, because of the controversy of Zion. You know, even though Esau Edom is going to get it the worst, these other heathen are in no way, you know, going to go unpunished. You know, assemble yourselves and come ye, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about thither, cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. You know? Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there I will sit to judge all the heathen round about. And that's what you're seeing. You're starting to see the culmination of, you know, the military starting to build up around, you know, the valley of Yahweh's decision, or Yahweh's judgment. You know what I'm saying? Because he's bringing the people there to be judged. You know, hey, look, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is the most eloquent tactician that there will ever be, you know? And, hey, what just happened within the last few hours is nothing short of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai going to the next step of prophecy, you know, bringing about this third woe that's got to come to pass. That's going to come to pass, I should say. You know, they can fight it all the fuck all they want, but, you know, it's going to happen. As a matter of fact, This was supposed to happen, what, a week ago or so, you know? But even in that, the generals of Babylon the Great was like, nah, we ain't ready for this. You know what I'm saying? Don't do this. We ain't ready. You know? We don't have systems in place. And also another thing that's been going on is a lot of these ships that's been out there for like almost a year, those men are getting tired, which also goes into the scriptures of the men has thirst to fight. They're going to be in their holes. And that's what you're seeing. You're starting to see the men, or not starting to see, but you've been seeing it, but it's only going to get worse. The men ain't going to want to fight. They're not going to want to, go through this war, and it's almost at the point where they've actually started sticking towels and rags down, the sewer systems of ships, just to get the ships to go into port, because these men have been out there for almost a year. So, hey, it's really popping off, and it's only going to get worse. But even before World War III takes place, the MOTB has got to be in place. You know. Yeah, so hey, this is a beautiful thing. Let me see if I want to get some more precepts. I just wanted to hit this point because we are definitely in those times. Let me see. The book of Sirach, chapter 27 and 27. He that worketh mischief, it shall fall upon him, and he should not know whence it cometh. So here it is. He's actually under this preconceived notion that, he can't be beat. But when he starts to become destroyed, when his military ceases to be that superpower, that hammer of the earth that has been cut down, he's not going to understand how did it happen. How is it possible that, the most powerful military on the face of the earth today is fallen? How can we not go through with our plans when everything was so logistically played out? Well, they didn't consider the main variable in all their equations, and that's Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. They they did not consider the Alpha and Omega. They did not consider that. And the scriptures say that, the wicked shall not understand. And they don't understand, which is why they don't believe in prophecy. Some do, but in the back of their minds, they actually think that they can overcome the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai through their science. But they've got another thing coming. The book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, in verse 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. The souls of these people is not upright in them. Because as I said, they actually think that they're going to be able to circumvent the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And that's far from the truth. They actually think that their actions that they just did a few hours ago is somewhat going to be beneficial to them, which goes back to what I was saying in the very beginning. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai got him in a trick bag. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man. And that's that wine, what I'm saying, he wants to give the Iranians. Trump says actions gives Iranians a chance to topple their rulers. If these people really wanted to do that, they would have done it a long time ago. You see what I'm saying? So That's that wine. You don't need these rulers. You don't need the system that you're a part of. Be like us. Have a democracy, you know? And they probably do have a democracy, but it's not the same democracy that, these Babylonians have over here. They have a system in place that has served them well for thousands of years, hundreds of years. And the pride of this place actually thinks that they need something better. And that's the mindset of this devil. His soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him. He actually thinks that he could do better than Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. But he's got another thing coming. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell. And that's what he's doing. He's enlarging his desire. He has military bases all around the world. He just sent 2 battle groups over in the region. 2 2 battle groups in the region. That's huge. That's a big deal for this place. And there's going to be more sent over there. There's going to be troops that's sent over there, but they're not coming back. They're over there and they will never come back because they're being sent out there for their judgment. Who enlarges his desire as hell and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. That's why they call this place the great melting pot, because of all the people, from different nations, that are upon the earth. All of the 18 nations that are in existence are here in Babylon the Great. All of them. And if anybody want to get simple, the scriptures say that there is no end of all the people. So yes, Esau Edom is still here. And yes, Esau Edom is in power. Because Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is going to return with Esau Edom being in rulership. And the mindset of these people is, hey, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? That's their mindset. Their mindset is there's nothing that you could possibly do to stop us from doing what we want to do, because they have done this for so long that it's inconceivable to them to think that they will possibly ever fail. The Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2 and verse 11, let our strength be the law of justice. And that's been the mindset of these people. The military might of Babylon the Great has had this world shook ever since they dropped the bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Had the world shook. Well, now, that same technology and even greater, these other nations have. And that's a part of and that's a part of the saying, let the weak say I am strong. Here it is. You got nations that has technology that can do what this place did to, those cities in Japan. And they're telling you, don't fuck with us. Let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worse. Well, amongst the heathen that are on the face of the earth, that they're proving that mindset is off. That used to be the mindset of the people. But you got some Babylonians out here that's saying, we fucking up. We shouldn't be doing this. Because, we once thought that these nations were feeble and are nothing to us. Well, now, these nations have bigger ground troops, more ships, capable missiles, and supersonic ICBMs. Hold on a second. Let's re-strategize. But the pride of this devil is saying, nah, we ain't re-strategizing shit. We going all in. And this devil is pushing in all the chips. Because they have to. Because the spirit is upon this devil to do so. The book of Job, chapter 20 and verse 22. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. He's in straits. These devils are in straits. They don't know how to do it because, you know, their wisdom is leaving them. You know, the wisdom is leaving Teman, where this devil is acting out of haste. You know, those spirits that were once with him to give him information to get him to a certain point are now leaving him, to the point where, his monthly prognosticators aren't prognosticating. His witchcraft isn't working anymore, because that veil is being pulled. The veil is being pulled from over the people's eyes to see exactly what's going on. So he's in straits. The people are starting to wake up to realize that they've been duped. The nations are waking up, to realize that, these people are liars. And the world is starting to realize who the wicked is. And reading on, every hand of the wicked shall come upon them. So while this devil's sitting back and thinking that, he's going to fulfill his enterprise and do what he needs to do, to bring about this NWO. Yeah, okay, he's going to get to a certain point. But Yahweh Shem Yahushua has set a bound that he cannot pass. And he's not going to pass it. And that's what this devil doesn't understand. So he can create all the robots that he wants. He can create technology that would download, his consciousness into chips and load them into artificially inseminated robots. Look, he could do whatever the fuck he wants to do. But at the end of the day, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, is allowing him to actually think that he's going to fulfill what he set his heart out to do. Only to have him in a trick bag. Because it's about to get crazy in the world. So, of the elect, hopeful elect, prepare your minds, get your spirit in order, because, it's about to get crazy. And even before World War III or World War Woe happened, it's going to get crazy over here. So get ready. Get ready, So with that, I pray that you found this lesson edifying. And with that, I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honors to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom.